family, I'm drawing the line in the fucking sand. Do not read the Latin. Because why would she do that?
I can't read Latin.
You can't?
No.
You didn't take 2 semesters of conversational Latin in college?
I forgot that you did that.
It was really stupid. They were like, you have to do a language requirement or whatever. And I took Spanish in high school, and I was like, why would I do that again? Well, probably to like reinforce an actual practical language skill that just escaped me. But I was like, oh, I thought it was going to be like Latin, like learning root words of like to make my understanding of English better. They were like, oh no, we're going to do like conversational Latin in like, you know, back in the day. So it was all like words like, oh, like I beat my slaves. My husband is going to war with the Spartans. Like it was shit like that. And it was just like, I know the word for trenches, but I don't know like how to identify Latin root words. It was really fucking stupid. I don't remember any of it. But I also couldn't have read the Latin.
You paid for that.
Well, we all make mistakes with our education. Anyways, this is The Swamp. It's our podcast. It's an acronym.
Stands for Some Whack-Ass Movie Podcasting.
My name is Dara, and I don't know any Latin anymore other than I do think, like, V's are pronounced like W's. The word werberat was, like, to beat your slave, or, like, to beat. And then, like, enslavios or whatever fucking bullshit. Yeah.
Well, and I'm Emily, and I don't have any slaves, and I don't know how to speak Latin.
So that's never going to come in handy.
Yeah, so.
But we're going to cover The Cabin in the Woods this week because we're doing all slasher movies for Halloween, October month. And this one was an insistent addition from Henry. He was like, you guys you're doing slashers, you have to do Cabin in the Woods. And nobody else really came forward with anything that seemed like a better option because we kind of started with like iconic Halloween, right? Then last week we did Pearl and X, which was kind of like scratching a personal itch. Yeah. And then we're gonna end, no spoilers, but next week we're gonna do Scream, which is like another like the iconic obvious choice. So we kind of had a bit of a hole here. And Henry was like, you have to do Cabin in the Woods. And we
neither collectively
not an ounce of knowledge.
Nope, I didn't know a thing.
I knew that Chris Hemsworth was in it.
Yep.
I knew that it came out in 2012, roughly. And I knew from a TikTok this really niche, like, factoid piece of information that all the characters are kind of these, like, stereotypy trope things. And the stoner guy, there's a scene where they all go swimming, and he doesn't go swimming. He stays on the dock, and he has all his clothes on. The reason that they wrote that was because that the actor who played the stoner guy was even more fucking, like, jacked and shredded and, like, ripped than both Chris Hemsworth and
Jesse Williams.
Jesse Williams. I was not going to know his name. I was going to say that guy from Grey's Anatomy. Yeah. And they are supposed to be like the hot guys, and he's supposed to be like the stoner guy. And they're like, oh god, if we like make you go swimming and you were like just absolutely shredded, it's just like not really going to make sense in the context of the film. So that they had him keep his clothes on. That was the only thing I knew. And I was watching, and I was like, hey, did you know? I'm that guy. I'm the did you know during the movie IMDb fact. And everyone's like, yeah, it's like, it says it on the screen. We have the IMDb fact feature on. You don't have to read it out loud. That's
But this movie was a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect. I mean, obviously, The Cabin in the Woods, which is like obviously like titled that like for the reason of like, oh, it's gonna be your typical slasher, like, scary movie, Cabin in the Woods, like, leading you to believe that it's gonna be, just the same bullshit that every other, like, spooky horror movie is and all that shit.
Which is kind of the whole point.
Exactly.
And I think we both feel pretty similarly that, like, I'm sure this was really doing something in 2012, and I think if I was, like, a horror enjoyer during the time that this came out, I'm sure I would have really liked it, and it was doing a lot of like interesting, subverting expectation, plot twisty things. But watching it for the first time ever now, it's like the big plot twists are just like things that are so fucking tired that it just didn't do it for me. The whole it was a simulation the whole time. So we are just over that. Yeah. We are over that. Like
scientists running the whole gambit.
Yeah. Like, no. And then also the whole like, oh, we're gonna take, a genre that has really like formulaic beats that every movie follows, and we're gonna take that and we're gonna emulate it, but then in a way that like rips it apart and critiques it. Like that also I'm sure was like great for horror fans back in 2012, but just for me now, I'm just like, yeah, okay. cool.
Yeah.
But again, I would say neither of us really identify as, like, horror lovers or, like, I don't know. So I'm sure if you really like this movie, I'm not hating on you. I could see how this movie could be really good and appealing to somebody, but just for me on this day that we watched it,
didn't do it.
It was very much
a lot. Like,
well, I guess as far as a quick plot summary is it's a slasher movie, but then it turns out it's all being run by scientists because they have to get these people to die in a very specific way for a ritual to, like, appease some, like, godlike figures. Otherwise, they will, like, the apocalypse will happen. Yeah. And then the people in the college students who are, like, these embodiments of these stereotypes and are going to die in a specific order to get their blood for the ritual or whatever, they kind of figure out what's happening, or at least, you know, one of them does, kind of figures out, like, what the fuck is going on, like, and they kind of crack the system and then end up just letting the world end. They're like, oh yeah, we'd rather just have everyone die than have us die, but they, like, accidentally unleash all of the monsters that were used in these sort of simulation things. It was very, like, it was a lot. It was
so much. And don't get me wrong, like, here's the thing is, I love a movie that, like, not a lot goes on. 20th Century Women is one of my favorite movies ever. I also love a movie that's, like, super stimulating. And this was overstimulating for me. This was a lot.
I was whiplash. Plotline whiplash. As far as it really was giving to me, like, you know, when they first sort of let you do creative writing in, like, 6th or 7th grade, because, like, if you let a 2nd grader do creative writing, they're just going to end up being like, you know, oh, I live in a house with my parents or whatever. But if, you know, once you're a creative part of your brain that has developed to a certain extent where they're like, oh, we're going to introduce you to these kids, like, the concept of, like, fiction writing or whatever, right? But, like, no 11-year-old is, like, good at fiction writing. Yeah. So you always, I at least always felt like I always, like, started a story with 800 plot lines. And then that was it, right? Yeah. So it's like, oh, write a fictional story. And it was always like, they're in outer space. And then there's also, like, like, somebody's control, especially after reading Hunger Games, which we can get into the similarities. After reading Hunger Games, the whole, like, everything is being controlled by a higher power. But then also there's interpersonal issues, and which can be done well, but, like, when written by an 11-year-old, it just doesn't work. And this, to me, felt like it was written by, like, an over-ambitious 7th grader who, like, really just got into the creative writing assignment. Yeah,
this is, like, that 7th grader that, like, was put on Adderall, like, I don't, like, a super high dose of Adderall, like, really young. So, like, they just rock with that.
But even, like, the assignment was to do, like a 2-page, like, short story fiction, and they hand in, like, a short novel, but it makes not a fucking iota of sense. The teacher's like, we love the ambition, but, like, this is illegible.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Frog people are coming to destroy the world, but also that she's a princess, like, what? That it was giving that, which it really made a lot of sense to me once I realized that this movie was written by Joss Whedon and Drew Goddard, specifically. So they worked together on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but specifically Joss Whedon does the screenplay writing for a lot of the, like, Avengers movies.
Horrific.
Which it makes sense to me, though, in that way that, like, the outline and the structure of the story could be potentially compelling, but, like, it was just the dialogue for me. The, like,
so bad.
He's standing right behind me, isn't he? Like, kind of shit, which is just, that just is the reason why those Marvel movies are all just so incredibly cringy and unwatchable to me, because it's always the, like, I'm gonna save the day now line, which was so at its apex in the scene of this movie where Chris Hemsworth is on the fucking dirt bike. He's like, I'm gonna make the jump, and even if I don't make it, I'm still gonna save the day. And I was just like, who?
I'm gonna come back with cops and choppers and guns, and I'm gonna kill all those fucking things.
It's just,
bro,
like,
made me want to fucking kill myself watching it.
I would not have the mental energy. If a situation like that arose, I'd be like,
I'd kill myself.
I'd be like,
immediately.
I really related when all of the monsters got released from their, like, little boxes. There was one woman who just like, gun to the head. Yeah. Relatable.
Yeah, she's right for that.
Which, honestly, I'd rather go like that than, like, whatever, crushed by a giant, like, demon god hand. That just seemed like a lot.
Like, no, to my own volition and, like, actually, like, no. I'd rather do it myself and just quick.
Would you have a one that you would prefer? Because they show basically part of the plot is that they are in this cabin, and that whatever decisions they make will lead to their demise. So if they, I'm sure if they all go out to the lake at night, then the merman will get them. But if their whole thing is that they read the Latin, and that awakes the zombies, I guess.
Some shit.
But so
redneck hick zombies or whatever it was.
But it's basically like a.
I liked the really because once you see all the monsters get released at a certain point in the movie. The giant snake I thought was neat, but I think I'd really rather go getting stabbed by the unicorn because
it's kind of fabulous.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be like really gay of me. You know what I mean?
I also wrote down that I think I would pick the snake because it seemed like some of them seemed like kind of torturous.
Yeah,
like,
the snake's just biting you and ripping your head off.
That's gonna just some sort of. Also, one of them was like giants. Because at the very beginning, it's all, like, fun and games and joking around that all of the scientists running the show are all, like, taking bets.
Yeah.
It's, like, very, like, we're taking bets.
Yeah, what's it gonna be this year?
But they had written down, what they all thought it was gonna be, and I was peeping it, and one of them was, like, giants. I wouldn't mind, just because, you're just gonna get squashed.
Yeah. Can you stomp
like
on? Maybe eaten?
Zombies seem a little strenuous.
That's a lot of work to not die, even though I'm gonna die anyways. You know what I mean?
Also, they, fucked up Chris Hemsworth, and he lived, every time they'd, bite him or stab him or throw a bear trap at him, he just would get more bloody and dilapidated, but he just, didn't die until
he still rocked with it.
Yeah, which I don't fuck with that. I want an instant, something quick. Mm-hmm. So yeah, maybe, the sharky merman or, the big snake, I think, would be my choices.
Yeah, I think you're right for that.
But I was quite intrigued by the guy who had all the saws in his head.
Yeah.
And he, had a weird Rubik's Cube. That had a little intrigue and mystery to it that I think I could get behind.
I don't know what he was or what he was doing.
Which a lot of them were clearly references to old horror movies, like The Ring. They just literally recreated The Ring. There was a clown. They just were doing these are all the horror movies that could happen. But I guess the whole point, I guess, was that they wrote this movie in 3 days, and it fucking shows.
Bro, that's when you just do so much coke.
They locked themselves in a hotel room and were we're gonna write this movie, and they did it in 3 days. And I'm yeah, okay. But their whole thing was that they wanted it to be both a love letter to the genre of horror, but also a deep criticism of, especially I guess when this was released in 2012, I think the horror genre had kind of suffered from a relapse of monotonous trope usage, and a lot of the good horror stuff was kind of just getting recreated over and over until it just became insufferably tropey. And so they employed all of those on purpose as a criticism, which I understand that was a thing that they did, but it's almost like making your movie bad on purpose to make a point. Their whole thing was that they if you made it funny, if you actually made it funny, or if you made this movie actually good in any way. That's a little harsh, but I do
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because if it was a criticism and then you I feel part of making it a criticism is showing how bad it is, but this almost felt like it took itself too seriously to show that it was supposed to be a criticism.
The comedic moments did not hit hard enough.
There wasn't any comedic moments.
I think none of this was funny. The stoner character was supposed to be funny, and I genuinely think that the only bit of humor I got was when his coffee cup turned into a bomb.
I loved that.
And then back into a coffee cup, and then he used it as a weapon.
That's a real thing that exists, and I think that's just the peak of engineering, honestly.
Very cool. I read somewhere that it cost them $5,000 to create it, and it was functional. It was both functionally a bong and a coffee cup. That can't be true. $5,000 to engineer that has to just already exist.
That already exists.
But they were these are all the overused tropes in horror, so we're just gonna do that to show it and expose it. But then you just end up making a movie that just has all of those same characters. I wasn't rooting for anyone. I was honestly kind of rooting for the scientists at one point.
I was.
I was rooting for Miss Sigourney Weaver, who...
Oh my god, she came on and we both screamed, no way.
We yelped.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was a lot.
It was wild. And Henry suggested we watch this, but he didn't watch it with us. He was off in another room. And afterwards, he was like, "Oh, what'd you think?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay, fine." But he was like, "What was that moment that like you both like screamed at? Like, what was the twist that really got you?" And we were like, "It was not a plot twist. It was Sigourney Weaver."
Yeah, no, she was my favorite part of this movie. I think the scariest part of this movie for me is that, like, the moment where that girl was making out with that wolf statue thing. Like, what the fuck was that? Or, like, the guy chewing the dip. That was horrifying to me.
Ooh.
Like, watching this movie, like, at least when it comes to, like, like the friend group, like, getting killed in the woods kind of, like, trope, like, the dynamic between the friend group is, like, at least kind of there. Like, you like, you can, like, kind of see, like, these are people that all hang out and they're all friends.
Yeah.
These people probably, like, they could have known each other for, like, 2 days before this. It was so weird and it was so uncomfortable. Like, that is not a group of people that hangs out.
Yeah, I want to say that was intentional, that it was supposed to feel awkward because the whole point was that they didn't make any of those decisions of their own volition, that it was all, like, things that had been controlled and predestined by these scientists. So it's like, the 5 of them would have never gone on a camping trip together by their own choice. Like, it was some, like, higher power bringing them together. I think that was on purpose, but that's when we get into, like, oh, this movie's so meta that every decision that was made was, like, on purpose to make you think about, like, the genre as a whole, where in fact it just felt like I was watching a movie about, like, these really tropey characters. I know it was on purpose trying to make a point, but it was still like, he's the jock and she's the girlfriend and they're horny, and it was like, okay, like, I get you're making a point that those are all the people that die first, right? Yeah. They literally say it. They spell it out for you in a way that is just so unsubtle, of, like, they give them the whore, the athlete, the scholar, the fool, and the virgin are, like, the 5 tropes, and they have them, like, carved into stone, and those are they have to die in a certain order, and that's, we're you know, doing a criticism on the horror genre, whatever. But at the end of the day, you just made me watch that movie. You just made me watch that, you know, tropey movie that you're criticizing.
Yeah. Which, like, we're gonna get into this, like, more, like, next week, but this is exactly what Scream does, like, really well.
Which I have never seen Scream, so I'm actually pretty excited, because when I was reading a lot of the criticisms of Cabin in the Woods, they were like, oh yeah, they just did what Scream did, but, like, less good. And I was like, oh, interesting, we're doing that next week. So, and I've never seen it, so I'm pretty excited.
I'll tell you what, if I had someone in my friend group make out with a wolf like that, I wouldn't be their friend anymore. Like, we're not friends anymore. What's worse? Pearl fucking the scarecrow, or her making out with the taxidermied wolf? I think it's the wolf.
I gotta give it, Pearl did that in private. She tongued that scarecrow in the privacy of the cornfield. And Miss fucking, what's her name, cheerleader stereotype girl,
she was getting into it.
She tongued that. I read online that they put powdered sugar on it to make it look dusty, to make it, like, look like she was, like, licking the dust out of the taxidermied wolf's mouth, but also, like, to make it, like, less gross for her to have to do that. Oh my god, I just... my synapses were firing in a negative way when her tongue was, like, really getting into the crevices of its teeth. Yeah,
she was sucking on the teeth.
That's a furry right there.
Yeah.
That unlocked a little something, something.
Yeah.
I did not. I didn't really think that the characters, like, I understood that Chris Hemsworth was, like, the jock guy, like, the, you know, the leader of the group, the popular, whatever. His girlfriend was, like, the quote unquote, like, the whore or whatever. The Grey's Anatomy guy was supposed to be the scholar.
All they did was put him in little glasses.
He didn't see.
That was it.
They also, like, said at one point that, like, the blonde girl was a pre-med major, and that, like, I don't know, they never said what his whole deal was, and he just, like, read Latin at one point and was like, oh yeah, I took Latin in 10th grade, which is, okay.
Cool.
But that to me did not check out. I guess the fool,
the virgin girl was, like, the one that was bringing, like, 9 books.
Right, like, and they even say, though, when they're like, oh, you're the like, Sigourney Weaver's, like, explaining, you know, their breaking apart the plot for the characters in the movie, and they're like, oh, these are the stereotypes, and you guys all fit them, and you have to die in an order for these gods to be appeased, and they were like, the virgin, and it doesn't matter if you die or not, it's just sort of like a bonus, and she was like, virgin, because clearly they talked about her fucking her professor in like the first scene of the movie, and she's like, virgin, she's like, oh, well, we work with what we've got, which you can find a virgin. If that's I also have read somewhere once that when they say, like, virgin sacrifice, it just means that you've never been sacrificed before, which doesn't really make sense to me, but you can find a virgin in college. They're everywhere. If that was if you were handpicking these individuals because they fit these stereotypes so well, and you're gonna, like, by force of nature, make them go on a camping trip together, you could find an actual virgin. I promise you that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But they're like, yeah, we work with what we got. They're more common
than you think.
Yeah, you're not a virgin. You just fucking suck. They're like, you wanted to bring your chemistry.
You're so lame.
You just wanted to bring your chemistry books on this, like, trip. Like, that, to me... I did. Again, maybe they were trying to do something there that just, like, went over my head.
You're not a virgin, but you give virgin energy.
Yeah. Well, like, not even. Like, I just didn't get that. And I guess as, like, a quote-unquote, like, a final girl, she just didn't really do it for me because I was never really rooting for her.
I honestly wanted her to die, like, really bad. Yeah.
I did kind of fuck with her in the moment when Sigourney Weaver was like, here's the deal. And then she was like, you all have to die in a specific order. So, like, the fool homeboy, he has to die before you. Mm-hmm. And she picks up the gun and she's like, fucking, I'm ready to do it. That is the most illogical thing to do in that scenario, is that you're like, okay, save the world.
I would hope that you'd kill me to, like, save the world. Like, that would suck.
I would kill myself. Except, I guess at that point, they had already unleashed all those monsters.
Because, yeah. If, if I was in his shoes...
Are you saying that you're the fool and I'm the virgin?
I'm just saying that you have virgin energy.
Oh my god.
No, not at all.
I'll take it.
But if you had to kill me, like, would you just... Or reversed, like, I'd kill you and then I would just kill myself.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I could live with killing you. You know what I mean?
Aw, thanks, Emily.
You're welcome.
I just don't understand the plot of, like, she hits the big red button, which is, like, the number one sin to do in any situation is to hit a big red button that you are not qualified to push, which they then unleash all the monsters, which I guess, like, gets the scientists off their back, but also just,
they should have died.
Puts everyone in a butt-fuck load of, like, inconvenience, right? So if they end up dying in the right way and saving the world, are all of these, like, arguably indestructible monsters just gonna go out and fucking, like, wreak havoc on the world anyways? Like, what's the alternate ending of this movie where she does fucking cap him, the gods are appeased, but, like, now it's, like, fucking Pennywise is just out here? No, ma'am.
Just respawning?
No, ma'am.
Yeah. I want to know what Sigourney Weaver's deal was, because she was, like, the final boss of the movie. She comes out, like, at the fucking 11th hour, just sitting there, like, she's down there hanging out with the old gods or whatever.
She's having coffee.
She's, like, making sure that, like, everything goes to plan. She does not play a single fucking part of this movie until she's, like, I guess she's the one over the speakerphone being like, don't do this, you have to die for the betterment of the world, or whatever, and all that shit. She's just, like, sitting there, just, like, a just in case. Like, that's, like, this is our last hope, is Sigourney Weaver.
Which is, like, fair.
I mean, like, they're right for that.
If anyone's gonna get the job done,
Sigourney Weaver,
it's gonna be her. But yeah, I don't know. I agree that it's just
fucking weird.
It's a little...
It's too much. It was way too much. And, like, I knew it was gonna be, like, way too much, too, like, once they started dying so fast.
That's when you knew?
Well, I knew it was going to be too much because it started, like, with the scientists. And Dara and I were saying that we were like, we have no idea what just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the first 5 minutes of the movie, I was like, do I have to rewind this to, like, catch up? Because I was, like, too busy eating Cheez-Its to, like, fully immerse myself in the dialogue. But then I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to, like, fully understand.
Get it, yeah.
But they do reveal the twists to you before they actually happen to the characters, which I think can be a good choice in a movie, because sometimes as a viewer you like to know, like, oh my god, this thing is gonna happen, and now I get to, like, observe your response to it as a character. But to me, it was just like, we knew it was a simulation from the moment the movie started.
Yeah.
The whole thing has clearly been, like, crafted for some specific purpose, and then I feel like they could have maybe benefited from us finding out something through an action or a consequence, rather than, like, we're gonna explain this plot structure to you so that you get it when it happens rather than like just it organically happening and it being genuinely like nothing was really that shocking because you kind of already knew it. Like the reveals were done through like plot exposition rather than like actual like when he fucking motor jumps and slaps into that wall.
Yeah. Like
I didn't know specifically that was happening, but we knew that there were those like force field wall things because it had happened. Like it had been shown. So it just like it wasn't that surprising.
No.
Because it's like, yeah, okay. Right. Back at it again with another chocolate or vanilla interim podcast segment hosted by my lovely mother, Jen. She is here. She is ready to ask us questions. Those are the rules. She says 2 things. We all say which one we like better. It's a hoot, it's a holler, it's a romp. Jen, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm fine.
I'm decent after watching this movie. I could be better.
We are doing this chocolate or vanilla recording hot off of our cabin in the woods viewing experience, and I think Emily and I are both just kind of in a like, okay, yeah,
Bit of
kind
daze.
of mindset.
What's the kill count? Is it high?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The not to spoil anything, but
I've never seen it.
world ends at the end. Everyone dies.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And the whole thing. Yeah. It's like the highest kill count I think conceivably possible. Yeah. So what is the theme this week?
Okay, so because there's a guy from Grey's Anatomy and a guy from Marvel,
Okay.
there's things that would remind you of Grey's Anatomy versus things that should remind you of Marvel.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Emily,
Hospital
in advance.
things.
No, I can rock with this.
Hospital daytime TV drama things versus multi-billion-dollar movie franchise things.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. I can rock with it.
Okay, Seattle versus Washington, D.C.
Whoa, Jen. What the fuck is going on here? Chocolate or vanilla?
Oh my god.
The title of the game?
I was like, that hospital's in Seattle, right? I was like, shit, did I mess up already? I'm sorry. Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Vanilla.
Chocolate. Seattle or Washington, D.C.?
Why Washington, D.C.?
Because Marvel, like, where they had the battle was in D.C.
Okay, sure. I've never been to Seattle.
Or maybe that was in New York, but a lot of Marvel takes place in D.C.
Sure, yeah.
S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. is anchored in D.C.
Right, yeah, right. That makes sense. I'll pick DC because I've been there and I've never been to Seattle. So I guess I just have to pick the one that I've been to.
I'm gonna pick Seattle because I haven't been, and I'd like to keep that image of Seattle as what's there. DC is like
Needle?
okay.
I like DC. They got a lot of free museums.
Yeah,
that's my favorite.
True.
That's my favorite
I've
part.
heard really good things about Seattle. So.
Yeah.
I'll pick D.C. too. Shout out to Megan and Tony went to D.C. last weekend. Just,
Oh,
you know.
yeah. Shouts out to my cousin Megan who took a trip recently.
Next one, Meredith Grey or the Scarlet Witch?
Who's it? Scarlet Witch is what's her name? Elizabeth Olsen.
Correct.
Sure, I'll pick her because Grey's Anatomy is something that was forced upon me, and I'm not gonna shout it down because it certainly is an iconic piece of TV that was very impactful to a lot of people. But I did watch it. I made a deal with a friend that I had to watch Grey's Anatomy if she watched Lost, and that was like our trade-off. So it was like Grey's Anatomy happened to me, not like so it was kind of just something that I just did out of a sort of an obligation. Yeah. But Meredith Grey is, she's kind of annoying to me, so I'll pick the Scarlet Witch.
She's a bit of a
pick-me.
Yeah, she's a pick-me. I think she's a pussy, I think.
Ellen Pompeo she's really been sticking it out, though, because that show has 100 seasons, and she just refuses to leave.
Bro.
Everyone has, like, begged the writers to kill their character because they're like, I just can't do this shit anymore. Ellen Pompeo, she's sticking it out.
That money's gotta be crazy.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't love Meredith Grey as a character, but I can get behind an evil woman, and that's Scarlet Witch, so I'll choose her.
I'll choose Scarlet Witch too, even though I haven't seen it. Next one is Sandra Oh or Florence Pugh.
Oh, well, I mean, I was gonna say no question Sandra Oh, but it's like really tough. But I am still gonna stick with Sandra Oh, because if we're doing like Florence Pugh's role in the Marvel universe, just like is nothing. Like I haven't seen
Black Widow.
Widow. I haven't seen what the show she's in with Haley Steinfeld. Just I haven't really experienced that.
The Hawkeye show.
Yeah, I don't really know anything about that. But I will say, fuck Meredith Grey, but we love Sandra Oh as Christina Yang in Grey's. So I'll pick her.
She is an icon, like an institution. Yeah, no, for sure, Sandra Oh. Even if it's like out of the context of like Grey's Anatomy and Marvel. No disrespect to Florence Pugh, because I love and adore Florence Pugh, but just something about Sandra Oh just really tickles my brain and my heart. Like, did you see like those photos of her at the Queen's funeral?
Oh yeah,
like she just pops up. She's everywhere and anywhere. I love it.
She knows how to be a celebrity in the best kind of way.
Exactly.
How'd she get an invite to the Queen's services?
She's some Canadian ambassador kind of thing. She sits on some kind of Canadian council or whatever. So, I don't know. She was there representing Canada.
I couldn't think of a better individual.
No, honestly.
For that reason, I guess I'm going to go Sandra Oh too. I was leaning towards Florence Pugh because I love her, but next one is getting retrograde amnesia or getting dusted for 5 years and being in the blip.
So, what can you specify a little bit more about what retrograde amnesia is?
I think that's when you just forget everything from this moment in the past.
So
you remember things going forward.
Okay.
Because there is like antrograde amnesia, which is you forget things like immediately after they happen to you.
Okay.
But retrograde is just your typical standard variety soap opera amnesia.
Your standard amnesia.
Yes.
Isn't there also selective amnesia where it's
like global amnesia, right? That's the thing. And selective.
global as in like we all forgot.
No, like
like the Mandela effect.
You forget everything.
Oh.
Yeah. And then what's the other one you said? Selective?
Yeah, like I forget ages 9 through 15.
There's probably that too. That
probably, yeah.
But mine's just the amnesia that has probably happened on Grey's Anatomy.
I guess if it's a matter of like what I would prefer to happen to me, I guess I'll take the dusting, because at least you like, I don't know, that seemed to, what is it, 50% of the population got dusted, so like you're in the same boat as half the people, so it's kind of like, well, I guess we're all just gonna have to fucking deal with this, right? Whereas amnesia, if it's like you forgot everything in your life, that's a lot of ground to like recover. That's a you issue.
Yeah. Well, like, dusted for fun, like, I come back the same age, right?
Yeah. But everyone else ages, so.
Sucks. Yeah, where do you go? You die, right?
You
just
dust.
die? What?
You dust.
But I mean, there's certainly an advantage knowing that you come back.
Yeah. Within the MCU plot.
Amnesia, I'm never getting that back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with dusted.
Well, there's got to be some great cognitive therapy programs for amnesia victims.
I'm sure, but again, I think I'd rather get dusted, I guess.
Me too.
Yeah.
Dusted. For this week. Next one is Shonda Rhimes or Taika Waititi.
Waititi. Shonda Rhimes really she knows how to make content. Like,
she did the Princess Diaries, didn't she?
Yeah, she did Princess Diaries. Bridgerton. I recently watched all of Bridgerton over again in like a 24-hour period. Again, it's something that happens to me. Oh yeah, right.
Who made you watch that?
Rachel. Yeah. This is the same individual who made me watch Grey's Anatomy, made me watch Bridgerton. But, I mean, shouts out. They're both quality pieces of content. But I think I'm going to pick Taika Waititi because he made Jojo Rabbit, and I just think I would pick that over a Shonda Rhimes joint most days.
See, like, my issue is that, like, while he did Jojo Rabbit, he's also done, like, the Thor movies and all that.
Yeah.
And, like, I mean, like, I know he did, like What We Do in the Shadows, too, and stuff
very
like
up
that.
and down.
Yeah, very up and down. Like, I feel like Shonda Rhimes, like, I know what I'm getting into
consistent
every
drama.
time.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna pick Shonda, actually.
I'm gonna go with Taika Waititi. I like him. Next one is a TV show that lasts 18 seasons or a movie franchise that has 37 movies.
Oh, God. Both are insufferable. I was just recently singing the praises of both Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul for, like, being the perfect knowing when to end your shit. Mm-hmm. Like, 5 solid seasons. Like, that's fucking perfect. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't drag your shit out, which is clearly any TV show that has that many seasons doesn't really have the intention of having a concise and meaningful ending. It's just sort of like an ongoing whatever. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to pick a TV show with 18 plus seasons over a movie franchise because we're going to factor in reality TV here. And some of the best reality TV shows, Survivor, have 40 plus seasons. Yeah. So I think that is something to be considered, whereas a movie franchise with 37 movies, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Chill out.
TV I can also pace, you know what I mean? Which I guess I can for movies too. But, like, I can't watch, like, I just can't. I think it's ridiculous.
And it's the oversaturation of content availability for me, specifically with Marvel, where it's now like a new movie comes out every 3 weeks, plus there's TV shows, plus it's all on streaming. And if you haven't seen all of them, you're not really gonna get the full picture of the newest one. So it's like, oh, if you haven't watched seasons 1 through 4 of this show and also the last 9 movies, you're totally out of the loop. And I'm just like, dude, it's been a month since all of that's come out. Like, give me a minute. I have a job, you know?
Yeah, so I'll pick 18 seasons of a show.
Me too. I'll go with the TV show. Although you and I have had the conversation, a lot of shows after 3 seasons start to go downhill. Let's be honest. Maybe except for Glee. just kidding. The end seasons were rough. Yeah. Last one. Marrying your coworker or getting miniaturized with your coworker?
Okay, miniature. So I'm
like
shrinking.
An ant. Man.
The ant. Okay. Yeah. I can't. Romantically, I'm pretty locked down in a marriage situation right now, and I don't really think I would ever advocate for somebody dating their coworkers because that just always seems. As an outsider looking in, that never really seems to work out. So I'll take the getting miniaturized because. I don't know, maybe a fun little side quest with a coworker. You get miniaturized together.
Exactly. That's like a really, that's a fun story you get to tell. That's like just like a real bonding moment, too. And being involved romantically with a coworker is so messy. No one ever, I don't think you ever, aim to do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and say miniaturized as well.
Same. I'm gonna say miniaturized, especially same thing, because you have hindsight of knowing they come back to regular size. Yeah. So, yes, I think that would be fun to get miniaturized with either Em or Jess.
I would want to get miniaturized with a coworker I don't get along with, so then we could really bond about it, really patch up a broken relationship through, trauma bonding over being small.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that could really work out for me. Well, thank you, Jen. That was really hyper-specific, but I really enjoyed it. So thank you as always, and I'll try to post these on our Instagram, so stay tuned for that, and you can vote for which Grey's Anatomy-themed adjacent versus Marvel-themed adjacent things you prefer. Goodbye, and as always, we love and appreciate you.
Thank you. I love you guys. Have an awesome week.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
The scariest thing in this movie, I take back everything else I said before about there being the scariest moment, is when the scientists think they've done the thing and that everyone's good to go and the sacrifice has been done, and one of them walks in with a bottle of Jose Gold.
When he's trying to...
Horrific.
He's talking to his coworker and then he's like, tequila. He's like, time to party. Yeah, that is not... If you are, for your big celebration, you've done the one task that needs to get done every year and you're celebrating with... Jose Gold? No, not even Patron. Not even a mid-shelf. No, ma'am. That's like being I brought spiced Captain Morgan to commemorate the... pagan New Year or some shit. No, ma'am. I'm all set with that.
Oh my god. I wish the scientists won, honestly.
Because it just made sense, and also once they I guess once they started explaining shit to the characters, it was too late, because they had released all of those monsters, and it was a whole situation already, which I'm I think they're all just fucked, so it doesn't really matter what they do, because they're just fucked either way, I guess. But it was super reasonable to be hey, we've set up... It was a little shisty the way that they were clearly, televising it to a high-profile paying audience, that they were, making bets on it. It could have been a little more ethical, it could have been a little cleaner. But if it's, only 5 people need to die once a year Do they even specify that it was once a year?
No.
Maybe. I don't know. In some span of time, only 5 people have to die so that the whole world doesn't end. And they've done it in this, like, very contained, manufactured way. I'm not saying that that's ethically correct, but I'm just saying it could have been a lot worse.
Mm-hmm. I just wish, like, it wasn't, like, it didn't turn into, like, an ancient gods kind of thing and all that shit. Like, if it was purely scientific kind of thing, I could have rocked with that.
Really, if it was, like, we're doing a human study, but we need to kill you.
Yeah, like, in this really, like, we're, like, testing all of these, like... I don't even know what to call like these.
Are you a supporter?
monsters.
Are you a supporter of the Stanford prison experiment, Emily?
Right in this context of this movie, yes.
It's a psychology experiment. We just need to know the brain chemistry of how people would respond to zombies. I'm sorry. It's for science.
Or like they're like looking for like the next like monster of like mass destruction kind of thing, and they're like testing them like every year.
Yeah, they're like this baked kid could take out a zombie. No way that's
yeah,
gonna do
exactly.
the trick.
You know what I mean? Like something like that I could have rocked with more than it just became like this. It was like a Scientology thing. You know what I mean?
The plot twist that just ground my gears down to nothing and it was so fucking annoying was when they were like, the weed that the stoner kid was smoking, we accidentally didn't make it the right kind, and it actually has been making him immune to all of the stuff that's been happening. So like they were like releasing pheromone gases to get the horny people to fuck, and they were like, and he was the one who was slowly kind of figuring it out, which was supposed to be, I think, the closest thing to like a funny moment was when like he's the stoner guy and he's trying to be all like, maybe the world is just like controlled by puppets, man. Which is
puppeteers,
which is totally a thing that like an annoying baked guy at a party is like, let's just, oh my god, I'm getting really philosophical, and you're like, can you shut the fuck up?
Yeah.
We're trying to watch Bob's Burgers. Like, you're not contributing to this social environment. But that was as close as they got of him using his like baked takes to actually uncrack this. That could have been really funny, but I didn't really get anything out of the way that they did that. But the fact that they were like, oh, we meant to give him the weed that makes him stupid, but we accidentally reverse affected it. It made him like too smart or whatever. What the fuck was that shit? That was the moment where this movie completely lost me. I was like, this was not written with any like coherence in mind. That upset me.
You can tell that this was written in 3 days.
Yeah, that's so
How the
much
fuck
cocaine.
Did this get greenlit?
Because they both worked on Buffy, and they both had like a pretty good resume.
It's so bad
of like writing and producing credits. If you look, they both have made both like admirable and despicable things. Both of these men, and I think that this falls right in the middle. It's like fine, and I get what it was doing.
Did not age well. That is for sure.
Yeah, the CG is bad, but again, I have to like give that a free pass because it's 2012. And I'm sure their budget wasn't anything crazy. I think I read that it was $30 million, which is kind of a lot, but if you're doing that much, the amount of CG they had to fucking do for all of those monsters, I'm sure cost them an arm and a fucking leg.
Yeah.
But the other like big plot hole that I really can't wrap my head around, which again, maybe I'm just like not woke enough or like whatever, this went over my head, but it was made apparent that all of the monsters are indestructible. All of the zombies are indestructible. If they were shooting them with guns, they were stabbing them, the zombies don't die. And then when it gets revealed that there are hundreds of other monsters and they all get unleashed and start attacking the scientists, they also can't really be defeated. Like the it clown gets like shot in the chest 5 times and it doesn't do anything.
Doesn't move.
So they've clearly made these monsters to not be able to die. But a whole big plot point is that they have these other labs in other countries around the world that they just need one of them to work to appease the gods. And all of the other countries like failed. And the big one that gets a lot of screen time is the one in Japan. It's like a
like
classroom
these
of schoolgirls,
like these little 9-year-old girls
who supposedly like defeat this sort of
like demon and turn it into a frog.
A frog, and which I didn't realize that the evil is defeated, and she's holding the frog. That's like a meme, but I did not know it was from this movie, which is really funny. But so they supposedly like defeated the evil.
I don't get it.
Which means that there was in the cabin in the woods scenario, it seemed like the only way that they actually were able to defeat it was by figuring out that it was a greater system, and he like found the elevator, and that's how they got out. They were
Which also he hacked up that zombie.
Yeah, right? So that doesn't make any sense.
She killed one of the zombies as well at one point? I don't fucking know.
Or maybe just, like, incapacitated it to the point of... I don't know. That was the point where I was like, you are not tying up these loose ends enough for me, ma'am.
They didn't have to. It's a fucking... I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess exposing the formula of the genre, okay, cool. But it's like when you eat a meal and they say it's deconstructed. It's just less good. They're like, it's a deconstructed cheeseburger, but it's just like...
It's just a wedge salad.
Yeah, fuck a wedge salad.
I don't know. Like, this movie just had me, like, rolling my eyes the entire time.
You pretty early on pointed out that it was, like, very Hunger Games. Yes. Which I then was immediately just, like, relating it to the Hunger Games.
Which these came out the same year.
Yeah. It really, I guess I'm trying to think of it as, like, the way that the Hunger Games really was doing something in 2012 that maybe if you, like, for the first time went back and watched it now, you'd be like, yeah, okay, like, that's a little bit played out. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of this as having that same sort of, like, cultural, artistic impact, but I just don't, I don't know.
This movie wishes it did what the Hunger Games did. Like, not even as a franchise, just with, like, people, like, pulling all the strings and all that shit.
Even the hexagonal soccer ball-esque shape of the force fields that were keeping them contained was giving Hunger Games. And, like, the trapdoors in the ground, I don't know, it was very, like...
The Capitol would have never let one of the tributes out of the arena and into the game maker's little, hub.
Okay, I don't know if it, like, literally this movie is already, like, escaping my mind. Like, if the plots and the details of it are just
gone.
Dissipating from my, memory.
It's gone.
But the guy who's brought in from the outside, and they're like, have you been prepped? And he's like, yes. And he kind of is always, like, standing off to the side. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, he's, like, security or some shit.
Something. But it's clear that he isn't, like, a regular part of this team, and he's been brought in for some purpose. And that he isn't really down with them all, like, being so gung-ho about killing people or whatever. Whatever happened, like, what did they do with that character?
He died. He
got ripped
apart.
So what did it matter?
It didn't. None of it mattered. This movie was, like, it had so many, like, again, you could tell it was just written on, like, so much coke.
Yeah, I guess. The one thing that really got me, you've never seen Get Out, but the like, head scientist guy is the dad from Get Out who's like, I would have voted for Obama a third time. Which I thought that was funny that he is kind of similarly, like, a deeply evil but putting up a front kind of character. Mm-hmm. Like he seems to play that role pretty well.
Yeah. Do we want to get into our regularly scheduled programming?
Yes. I feel like it's hard to pick Fuck, Marry, Kill because we have 5 clear characters. We
Fuck,
have our
Marry, Kill, Kill, Kill.
Yeah.
It's fine with me.
Yeah.
Or we could do threesome, marry, kill.
I would rather kill multiple people. So I think, you get 3 kills and then you get a fucking marry out of our...
I'm gonna marry the stoner.
Whore, athlete, scholar, fool, virgin.
I'm gonna marry the stoner.
Okay, that's logical.
I'm gonna fuck the whore.
Right.
She's a whore.
Right. Which, again, like, not really...
I would fuck her on that moss bed.
But the way that I was like, if somebody tried to make me lay down on the forest floor, absolutely fucking not. Like, you would really have to be offering me something I could not refuse.
But, like, on a bed of moss?
Oh, no, there's
bugs. What if it's, like, the best sex you're ever gonna have?
Okay, maybe. I had to be on top, though. My head can't be touching the moss. Mm-hmm. I have to... When they flipped, I was like, I could maybe deal with that. But when she was fully naked, laying down on the... it's gonna be squishy. It's gonna be wet. I didn't like that. When they were like... When she was like, I'm a little cold. And they were like, increase the temperature. And they changed it from like 64 degrees
to 75.
To like... up to like 80. And I'm like, they're gonna have like... swamp sex? No. Too sweaty.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's already a sweaty activity.
I guess that was kind of considerate of them to, like, not do it in the cabin where all their friends were hanging out, though. That was kind of, at least, they're like, let's be considerate and do it in the woods. Rather than,
you can just be, like, a little quiet.
Or, like, they had the camper.
Yeah, literally. You can't just fuck in the camper?
I guess it wouldn't have really driven the plot forward. Yeah. Okay,
so I'm gonna kill the rest of them.
Okay, fair. Yeah, I think that's a pretty accurate. I did find the stoner character to be a little bit insufferable. Like, I don't think I could make a happy life with him because it's just that voice.
I think he would stop smoking weed after this experience.
Well, I guess if the world is going to end, though, in the context of the movie, like, if we're only going to have to be married for, like, a day, I guess that's fine.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that shitty fucking joint he rolled. Oh my, he holds up the saddest joint ever, which, again, I don't know if that was, like, on purpose as a joke.
It was pathetic.
Or it was, like, crooked and sad, and it's like when you try to roll for the first time ever.
Your friends are like, yeah, good job.
With Bible paper. Like, no.
It's like a 14-year-old rolled that joint.
Which, again, I did not know if that was on purpose or not. I wish it was, but it wasn't, like, heavy-handed enough to tell me that otherwise. But I did find that voice he spoke in to be, like, really insufferable. Yeah. And, like, the, like, way. So I think the most palatable is going to be the scholar guy.
Fair.
Because...
He's also really hot.
He's pretty hot. You told me that he's hung, which you said from some, like, leaked footage of a Broadway, like, on-stage production that he was in, that he has some nude scenes in. Not that that's a make or break for me, but, like, it is a bonus. And he was just, like, the least annoying because Chris Hemsworth's character was also fucking annoying. Mm-hmm. And then the virgin girl had, like, no personality. And then the whore girl, she made out with that wolf, so I could never even look at her again.
Oh, shit, that's true.
Yeah, you're gonna have to fuck her after she kissed that wolf like that.
I forgot about that. All right, I made my I made my bed.
I made my bed.
I'll lie in it. Oh my god.
And then I guess I'll fuck the stoner because apparently he's packing some sort of heat under that baggy hoodie. They said he looked like sexy muscular Jesus was how the cast the crew. They were like, oh yeah, he's like sexy muscular Jesus. Like we can't put him next to these other guys. Like he's gonna smoke them. So yeah, I guess I'll fuck him. Then we can like rip out of the coffee bong after. It'll be nice.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I guess I'm gonna kill the other three because I mean they all die in the end anyways. But out of the whole movie, I'm going to fuck, marry, and then kill Sigourney Weaver. Duh.
Yeah, that's right. You're right for that. I'm gonna fuck one of the ancient gods actually.
The giant hand.
Oh my god. And what are you gonna eat and drink with this movie? Like, this isn't even a movie that I wanna, like, eat or drink anything for.
We ate some Cheez-Its. We did, like, a pretty standard, like, midday movie romp. I think if you wanted to, like, lean into the, like, the zombie of it, you could eat like a rotisserie chicken or like a chicken leg or something that's like meat falling off the bone, or like really go ham on some ribs. Yeah. Could kind of be like a horror thing. I guess you do have to drink Jose Cuervo Gold. You have no option other than to just like rip shots of the absolute worst tequila imaginable. Yeah, I think you should punish yourself.
Yeah,
when you watch this movie.
Jose Gold for sure. No, nothing. You don't get a chaser.
You get a single boiled potato, and you have to ration it throughout the film. Yeah, they drink beer from a keg, which is like okay, I guess you could do like camping food because they're camping. If you wanted to like do like a can of SpaghettiOs, what do you eat when you camp? I feel like something from a can, right? Yeah. Chef Boyardee ravioli from a can.
Ooh, no, I don't think. Yeah, just drinks. This movie.
Yeah.
Like a beef jerky stick?
That, actually, yeah. A Slim Jim?
Yeah. You have to eat a Slim Jim. You have to eat one of those Slim Jims that comes with, like, cheese that's not refrigerated. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, inside it.
Yeah.
A Slim Jim and a black coffee feel right for this movie. And then what would you follow it up with? You said you had a good one.
Yeah, so this movie, to me, is something that wanted to be smart, but was objectively so bad and stupid. And I think you should watch a movie that is stupid, but is just so good and smart. And I think you watch The Bling Ring.
I've never seen that one, but I know
you really good.
You love it and advocate for it.
Or The Hunger Games.
Yeah, Hunger Games would be a good follow-up.
Either or.
Yeah, Bling Ring. I think something that is stupid that ends up being good, whereas this was like trying to be good and kind of ended up being stupid, would be a good little flip-flop for sure. I have 3 things.
Okay.
In ascending order of not a movie to a movie. So the first thing, one of the zombies, just when they were like at the dock and she realizes that the stoner guy isn't dead, and she's kind of getting attacked by the zombie at the dock, and then he, like, clocks it, and then she clocks it or whatever. It really just reminded me of Old Greg. I don't know if you've ever seen that YouTube video, Old Greg. Noel Fielding, who is one of the hosts of the Great British Bake Off, is probably what he's most popularly known for now. He was a comedian, or I mean, he still is a comedian, but back in the day did this comedic thing.
This sounds really familiar.
I definitely made you watch this in high school. Old Greg, and
he plays
like a swamp monster.
Yep, I know who you're talking
gets in a
about.
boat. He's like, I'm Old Greg.
Yep.
I drink Baileys from a shoe.
Yep.
So and one of the zombies just kind of reminded me of Old Greg and made me want to watch Old Greg. It's been a minute. So I'd love to revisit that. Okay. Then ascending to then a TV episode. This is giving once again very like mid Black Mirror. Like if Black Mirror was allowed to make a movie in 2012, I think this would have been, I mean, they would have done a better job than this, but it was like very like the plot to a super mid Black Mirror episode, and I think one of the most successful. It was a simulation the whole time. Plots is the episode White Bear, which it's kind of intense, as all Black Mirror episodes are, but it's this woman who is being hunted, but it turns out that it's a punishment for a crime that she created, and it's a theme park, and you sort of then realize that it's like a theme park where people pay to like watch her get hunted or whatever. It's a whole, but it's like the whole reveal is like, oh, she's not really being hunted. She's not really the victim. Like she is being punished for this thing, and it's like, oh, it's a simulation or whatever. I don't know. That just is the first thing that comes to mind of like that reveal to me. The first time I ever saw it was like, oh my fucking god. Yeah. Like, sorry if I just spoiled a Black Mirror episode for anyone. If you haven't watched Black Mirror at this point, like it's too late. Yeah. But then I think my favorite it's a simulation movie is The Truman Show. Yeah. And you just watch. It's a lot more mundane and subtle, but I think Palatable. It does it masterfully as far as like the kind of reveal that this movie, I know that the reveal of it being a simulation wasn't like the objective point of the film, but it was just like a thing that I latched onto. So I think you watched The Truman Show.
I think it's a great idea.
Oh, we forgot last week to rank Pearl between 1 and 10, but I don't think we have to, because I think everyone knows where we stand on that. Yeah. But I just realized that we skipped that. But for this, 1 out of 10, I'm going to give it a 3.
2.
I think that it had some merit, and probably had some merit in its time, and I think that the people who really enjoy this movie probably had a really enjoyable experience with it
when it was released,
at the time it came out, and it was like a really funny commentary on those tropes that a lot of horror fans I'm sure were really annoyed about. I get that, but just that didn't do it for me here on this day. So yeah, I'll be giving it a 3.
Yeah, no. It just kind of pissed me off, honestly.
I thought you really liked it, because you kept turning to me going, do you hate this? You seem like you hate this. And I was like, does Emily secretly really like this, and we're gonna like kind of be at odds here? And I was like, there was
a couple of parts where like I was like more interested than like there was like, I'd say maybe like 30 minutes in, I wasn't like totally deterred yet, and then everything after that, I was like, it really pissed me off.
Hopefully next week we will have a more engaging experience, because we will be watching the slasher iconic film Scream, and we're going to have a special guest who is a self-proclaimed super fan of the franchise, and hopefully will bring a lot of interesting factual knowledge that the two of us typically lack in this category. So I'm really excited for that, so keep your eyes peeled for next week. And we'll be posting this on YouTube. I'm so bad about getting them up like in a good and timely manner, so like sorry about that, I guess, but you know, this isn't my job. But if you want to support us, we have merch, so you can check out our merch, but you can also just follow us on stuff. And so all the links to all of our things are in the description below. We love and appreciate all of you. Please continue to send us your Halloween costume pictures. We fucking love them. And movie suggestions, other just media suggestions, just come say hi. We have a Discord now, so if you want to join our little community and chat about things, the link to that will be in the description below as well. And thank you all for listening, and goodbye and good night.